So I'm in the parking lot of Vincent Van Gogh's Asylum, and my daughter and her boyfriend went to an archaeology site that's called Glanum. And yes, it's Roman ruins and it's beautiful, but I've been there a few times and I'm not going to do the whole walking. So I'm reading a little bit about Vincent Van Gogh, and he was born a year to the day of his brother dying. So a year before he was born, his brother, older brother, died on the same day that Vincent was born. So every year his parents, instead of celebrating his birthday, they would go to the cemetery to pay tribute to the older brother that died. So that was kind of his starting of life. In a 10-year lifespan, he painted 850 paintings. So he is very prolific. And in the city of Saint-Rémy, where he was institutionalized for 1 year, he painted 150. And he came down to Arles in this area in Provence is because he needed the sun. He needed the sun to survive. It's all the olive trees, and the olive trees are right here. They just pruned it for the season, but this is where Vincent sat to paint these olive trees. If you notice in the background, the mountain right there is the same mountain right there. So everybody says that Vincent cut off his ear, but in actuality, he just cut off the ear lobe and gave it to, I believe, a prostitute, and she freaked out. And when he did it, he was obviously drunk and pissed off at Gauguin. So when he arrived in Arles from Paris, he started painting, and his friend Gauguin also came to visit him, but he was basically doing Theo, Vincent's brother, a favor by watching him. They were always very competitive. Gauguin wanted to leave, and Vincent was so angry, he cut off his ears. So at first, he was hospitalized in Arles, which is just a few cities just down the street from Saint-Rémy. But when he was there, they said that painting made him lunatic, so they took away his paintbrushes and his canvas, and they prohibited him from painting. So he became very depressed, and after I don't know how long, his brother Theo came down and moved him to Saint-Rémy in this asylum, and where they allowed him to paint as much as he wanted. And so this right here is a reenactment of what his little bedroom might look like. With the window that has either irises or lavender. This is the window where he painted from. And he was the only patient that was allowed outside in the gardens to paint. And this over here is the bathroom where they used to put, the people who are having mentally problems, they would put them in here in cold water. And here are some of the tools that they used to use. the garden where Vincent painted during the 1 year that he stayed here. And it's absolutely beautiful. This one right here is actually in California at the Getty Museum, the irises. Here's the question. Could Vincent have sat right here with all his painting tools to paint blossoms? And this one right here is in Paris at the d'Orsay. Yeah, so he was very prolific in this time. And then he left Saint-Rémy because Theo couldn't afford it. He just had a baby, he got married, he just had a baby, and all the money was coming here because since Vincent was painting like 150 painting, he needed the supplies and the canvases and the paints and the things, so that was so costly. And the wife said, we don't have enough money to pay for our child's clothing. So they took him out of Saint-Rémy and they brought him to Paris. And then in Paris, he stayed just for a little bit with Theo and the new baby and the wife, and didn't work out. So they sent him to this place which is an hour away by train, where there was a doctor who his patients were a lot of the painters. And so in which, like, after 3 months, Vincent was painting, and he, I guess, got a gun, a shotgun or something for birds. So there were little tiny pellets, and nobody, how can you give him that? We don't know. Give him a gun. And so he was up there, something happened, he was painting wheat fields with some crows out there, and nobody knows if he was shot or he shot himself. But after, I think, a day or two, Theo came up and he was with him when he died. When Vincent died, only 6 months later did his brother Theo die. Such a sad, tragic story. By Vincent with his sunflowers. They call him the sunflower thief. It was a great place to visit. From Saint-Rémy, in the asylum where Vincent Van Gogh stayed for a year and painted 150 beautiful, famous paintings like the Starry Night, I would like to say, Arrivederci!